All right, Michael, welcome to the show. Tell us about your background and how you got started as an author.
Well, I started as an author probably about 10 years ago, and my background is really spirituality, personal development. I've been teaching meditation for 18 years, and I had some very powerful spiritual experiences when I was younger that kind of completely changed my life and got me into personal development and self-development. And so after teaching, I thought, well, let me write this down because this is taking too long having to speak to all these people. So I wanted to write some books. And first book that I attempted to write, funnily enough, I haven't published that book because I often find this with authors, because when I teach other people how to write books, the first book normally is a bit of a hassle compared to the other books because you don't know what you're doing. So I actually have about 80 or 90 drafts and versions of this book. 9 years later, it's still not published because I didn't really know what I was doing. So that it's just funny how that first book is such a nightmare. Um, but once I just kind of just abandoned that and just wrote some other books, then I started finding my own flow with writing, and I get so many ideas because I do a lot of meditation. So I just sit down and I do my meditation in the morning, and I get so much power and so many ideas coming to me that it's just like I can't help it. If I might be out on the beach wandering around or whatever, and I just get all these ideas. So I come back, and that kind of just gets me in the zone. So I actually have about 50 books that I'm wanting to write, that I just have to just do them one at a time and finish them off. So yeah, this is what I've been really doing for the last um, 10 years, but mainly the last 2 years I've been taking this whole writing thing more seriously. And before that, I've been doing lots of courses and programs and coaching and not writing, but more like audio things and videos. But I like writing, so I'm starting to write lots of books. So that's
Hmm.
kind of a condensed version of my story.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So I know you've written, what, like 15 books in the past year or the past 2 years
Mhm.
and published them?
Yeah, yeah. So actually, you inspired me, Tom. So I just want to give Tom blessings and appreciation because Tom was doing this before I was, and Tom's been like a nice inspiration for me, actually. So thank you, Tom. And so this last year I published about 15 books, and I've got a whole bunch more that are just being edited at the moment. And basically, I'm the kind of person that can just knock things out. So what happens is I just get an idea, outline it, and I can easily knock out two thousand words in a sitting without any problem. Like I don't have like writer's block, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh God, I don't know what to do." That just doesn't happen to me. So as long as I'm not interrupted, then I can crank it out. So when my girlfriend went away to see her parents recently, I think I wrote 3 books because she wasn't around. So I didn't, yeah, because otherwise I'm talking to her all the time. So I was just like, I have nothing to do now, so I'm just going to crank it out. So
Yeah, awesome.
yeah, I love it.
Cool. So let's talk about kind of your spirituality background then, because I've noticed with kind of a lot of authors, it's like for a lot of authors, it's not about the money or the fame. It's really about kind of this spiritual inner calling of I have this message, I have this story I want to share with the world. And so, how did you kind of connect with that, and then take that inner drive, inner calling, and actually you know bridge that gap and get it out into the real world?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Basically, what happened with me was when I was about 18 or 19. I was basically spent most of my life up to that, my teenage years, just drinking tons and tons of beer and doing loads of drugs, loads of psychedelic drugs, LSD, mushrooms, acid, cannabis, in large quantities. And it was fun, I have to say. It was a good laugh. But it got to the point where it wasn't having a positive effect on me anymore. And And I kind of basically felt depressed. I wouldn't have said I was depressed at the time, though it didn't seem cool to be depressed, so I wouldn't have admitted to that. But that's basically what I was feeling. And my mother, actually, she might be here. She comes around sometimes and helps in the garden. But anyway, she got me into meditation. Um, and I resisted it initially, but then I decided it was a good idea, so I got into it. And the first meditation I ever did, I left my body, and I saw this vision of myself living a completely different life, um, happy for no reason, and just like completely free. And I saw this image of myself so clearly that it like rocked everything. And when I came back into my body again, um, I was like a totally changed person, and I just gave up all the drugs, everything, just like boom, like I was like different immediately. And it was such a shocking contrast that my whole life has been radically different ever since. And coming out of that, I could see the difference between being in like an addict and stuck and depressed and lost and confused and living in the traditional way that we've been brought up to this new way of living. And it was such a huge change that I wanted to sort of share that with people, because looking around, it looks like there's a lot of anxious, stressed out people, depressed, addicts. You know, there's so many problems in the world. So having had such a transformation myself, I was just inspired. You know, like what can I do to help? So that's really, it's just such a personal shift that I'm like, wow, you know, what a difference. Now I live in Hawaii and I do what I love all the time, and I'm just like living a kind of paradise lifestyle. So, you know, I know a lot of people are not living like this. So of course, you know, once I've got everything I need, then the only thing left is to serve. You know, what else is there to do? I can't. If I just wander around on the beach and just sit around, I don't feel like that's the purpose of my life. You know, I don't want to just sit on the beach. But I go to the beach to get inspired, but then I come back to serve people. You know, so that's really where I'm coming from. So the money and all that, money and the fame, it's all like as a consequence of coming from the heart. But I'm definitely not. I've got enough money to love my life and do what I want, so it's not like I need money. But I love to create. So my big drive is just to serve and create. You know, I love to create, so I'm always wanting new books and new ideas and new things. You know, it's just like that brings me joy. I love sitting here with this beautiful view and just sort of cranking out another book. I don't know, I just love it.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
So, how do you just stay like so productive in the zone? Like you said, I mentioned before, you don't get writer's block. I mean, why do you think that is? Is it because of your practice of meditation or something else?
Yeah, I think it's when basically I don't feel like I'm doing anything personally. I find that things are happening through me. That's how it feels. Literally feels like that. It feels like I've actually never really done anything. Things are happening by themselves. And when you practice meditation enough, you experience a state of flow, a state of grace, you know, like that book, The Flow, you know, but like it gets deeper, and rather than like me doing this and having to figure this stuff out and work hard, it's more like there's a power that comes through, and all I do is I just watch it happening. So I just get all this energy, and then I sit down and I'm just like crank it out. And then afterwards, when I'm reading the books, I'm like, how the hell did this even appear? Like, I don't even remember writing this. Like, what is going on? And I see all these books and all this stuff. And I'm like, where does it all come from? Like, I'm in wonder of it. I'm like, I wonder what's next, you know? So I think to me, it's entirely to do with like being detached, letting go, and not feeling like I'm actually doing it, you know?
Mm.
So,
Yeah, not feeling like you have to do it. It's like you said before. It's like a gift. It's like you're serving the world. It's not like
yeah,
a chore. Like, oh, I have to write this book, because that's my job, and
yeah.
if I don't do it, I'm not going to get paid. It's a very different place you're coming from.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of feel like I don't. Honestly, I feel like I don't do anything. And if I ever feel like I am doing something, then it's always stressful and it doesn't work. You know, one of my books is actually called "Do Nothing, Achieve Everything." and people seem to like that book a lot. I mean, maybe this is the title is quite enticing, but um, excuse me, the reason that I came up with that book is because I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I was getting all these messages, a bit like that book, Conversations with God. You know, those sort of like channeled messages. I don't like to use the word channeled really, but just like interesting guidance coming through. And it just kept coming up again and again and again. Do nothing, achieve everything. Do nothing, achieve everything. Do nothing, achieve everything. And it's a bit of a strange book, really. And I don't know if people really like it or not, but they seem to buy it a lot. So, but I don't know. I'm just like, it just came through, so I just published it. But the idea there is essentially that when we let go and allow things to happen, we're tuning into a different energy, which doesn't have all this resistance and blocks involved with it. So it's just a lot easier and more graceful, more fun to be in that creative process than to be, you know, I have to crank out another book and it has to be done, you know, forcing ourselves, because I don't feel that's it's not creative, and nor is it healthy, and it doesn't bring us any joy if we're coming from that sort of stressed out place.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, that's so true. I noticed that myself over and over again. That like when I'm most productive as a writer, it's when I'm just in that total creative flow, and it's like I can sit down at the computer, I can start writing, and an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours goes by, and I don't even remember like anything. I mean, I have to read what I wrote to figure out
Yeah,
what I wrote because it's just like it's like when you're driving in your car and you're just
yeah,
on autopilot, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm at my destination, but I don't even remember the whole trip here. It's just
yeah.
this total unconscious or spiritual like unleashing of creative power.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's such a kind of joy in itself, you know. So like the actual publishing of the book and the reviews and money and all that, that's like a nice bonus side effect. But just the feeling of doing it is so fun in itself, that it's satisfying. So if all I did was write all day long, and no one ever read any of it, I'd still feel good about the fact that I'd spent my time doing something I enjoyed, you know.
Mhm.
So, and you know, I think the side effect, the bad side effect though, is that sometimes I don't value what I've done because I don't feel like I did anything. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just like, oh, whatever, you know, it's just like, yeah, I did that one, now I'm on to the next book. And someone might be like, oh my God, that book was so awesome. And I'm like, well, I don't even remember what it was, you know. So if people ask me about my books sometimes, you know, I have to sort of like think what they're written in them because you know, I'm not like too conscious of this stuff, you know. So it's fun. It's a fun way to live, and I try and bring that into everything I do. So it's not just the writing; it's everything. Because it's just why not enjoy our lives fully, you know, and live from a place of grace and ease rather than stress, basically.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
It's so funny that that experience kind of happens to me frequently as well. A reader will say, "Well, what about on page 67 of this book? What did you mean when you wrote the sentence?" And I'm like, I don't even remember. I have to go back and look at it.
yeah,
Because like my mind's always on the next project. It's always on
yeah,
the next book. I'm not like, you know, memorizing every line of every book that I've done. And it's just it's just fascinating to me that like I never thought it would be that way, but it's just something really unique about the creative process where it's just like you said, it's just like it's somewhere outside of you coming in and creating this thing, and
yeah.
it's a very cool experience.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, that's like I think that's the essence of being alive, is to be tapped into some energy that's just flowing through you and just wonderful things happen. You know, I think that is life, really. That's like it's being alive. And I think in our world we've been conditioned to like be a certain way and suppress ourselves and do stuff we don't like and try and be somebody else and fit in with the system, and that's killing our energy. It's suppressing our joy, you know. So when we just let that all go and just let it come through, then everything's just a lot more fun, you know.
Hmm.
So
Definitely.
yeah, I mean, I encourage people to write, write, write. I think it's good for our mind as well, writing, because we get to clarify our own thoughts, you know. And I think it's good for us as just people in general to be able to think clearly, because if we can't write clearly, obviously we can't think clearly. Yeah. So there's a
Exactly.
connection, you know.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I've noticed that time and time again. Like it's like you mentioned before, that first book of yours that you still haven't gotten done yet because it's just, it's such a pain, it's such a hassle. And I noticed that time and time again with authors. It's like that first book, someone will spend 5 years writing their first book and another 5 years trying to edit it and make it right. And it's just like, I'd like to tell people, just chalk it off as a learning experience. If you never publish that first book, don't worry about it, because use that as a learning experience and start over from something totally new, something totally creative, something totally different. And I
Yeah.
think you'll kind of get to that end goal of having a book published much sooner if you do that.
Yeah, I tell clients when I'm working with them with books to the first book, you've just got to crank it out. You've just got to get it done. And if you want, publish it under a pen name, an alias, because you've got to get it out. You've got to get that thing out of the way. That's like a serious block, because otherwise authors spend all this time editing it, re-editing it, re-editing it, then they pay editors, and then they pay more editors, and then they re-edit it, and then they do all these different covers and all this stuff, and they're spinning out, and then no one likes it. And then they feel
Yeah, you know what usually happens too is that the author isn't happy with the book either. It's
yeah,
like they know in the back of their mind, like there's still something wrong with this book, but I just had to get it done.
yeah,
And that's really it's fascinating. I mean, that's the way I feel about my first couple of books. They were just awful, and I'm not going to go back and try to fix them and make them great because I don't think they're ever going to be that way. It's just they weren't. It was just a learning experience. It wasn't. Um, I don't know. It just wasn't something spectacular. It was a learning experience for me.
yeah. It's like for me, it's the process of being creative is more important than the actual creation in a way, because creativity is an energy, and if you can become a creative person, then you can create anything. And you could go from books to audios to videos to anything, and it will still be that creative energy coming through. And my attitude, this might sound a bit odd, but this is something that's helped me to crank out large amounts of books, is in my head, my best book is 12 books away. Right? Now, that might sound like, yeah, but that means all your books are going to be crap forever. Yeah, like it could be interpreted the wrong way. But for me, what it does, it allows me to just knock it out. Like Picasso, Picasso was one of the greatest painters in the world, and he actually produced more paintings, I think, than any other painter to date. His legacy, what he's left behind, is way over the top compared to anyone else. And he became good in large part because he just cranked them out. Um, and of course he ended up very good because he practiced a lot. Yeah. So if I think the book I'm writing now has to be absolutely perfect, yeah, and this is the only book I'm ever going to write, then that stalls the creativity. Whereas if I say this is just coming through, get it done, get a good editor, and just move on, it allows the energy to move. And I think that's a big part of creativity, is the ability to allow the energy to move through us rather than kind of be stuck with it. And because when we have one thing and we're stuck with this energy, we start spinning out. And I think actually people get sick if they don't let their creative energy out, as like physically sick, as well as mentally distressed and emotionally, in pain. So, yeah. 12, I don't know, this might be helpful for some authors. Your best book is 12 books away, so you're not going to get your best book done unless you publish another 12. So you might as well get started and get on with it.
Yeah, that's such a great way to look at it. That's great. I've noticed a couple of really interesting things in my personal journey from going from my first book to now over 20 books. And it was like the first couple of books before I even knew how to self-publish and get my stuff out there and make money with it. It was very hard for me because, and retrospectively, I'm looking back and it's like I think one of the reasons it was so hard is because I had no idea how to actually get it out to the world. And
Mm,
so, kind of in the back of my mind, I was thinking, okay, what's the point? If I can't get it published, I can't do anything with it. No one's going to read it. It's almost like, well, yeah, I have this great creative gift to share with the world, but it's basically worthless because I can't share it with anyone.
mm.
And that I feel like that was kind of holding me back for a while. And I noticed, you've had the 15 books in the last year, and you just started kind of recently self-publishing a couple of years ago. Do you think that was kind of a big breakthrough point for you, where you actually got to the point where you could say, okay, here's how I actually get my work out to the world?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think yeah, that makes a huge difference, because the first book I wrote, this was back in 2005, 2006. and self-publishing wasn't what it is now at all back then. And I don't think I'd even heard of self-publishing back then, actually. It never even occurred to me. I'm not sure Kindle was even around then, or it certainly wasn't very big. And I remember writing this book, nearly finishing it, and I just couldn't bear to even send it to any publishing companies to review. I just couldn't even send it to anyone. Like, you know, but now that I know how to do it self-publishing, and it's so easy, it's like, oh my god, when you know how to do it, it's just like boom, especially if you use Scrivener, and you can just like set the thing up, export it. I also have a background in design, so I actually like designing my own book covers, because I used to do graphic design anyway. So yeah, now I can just be like, boom, knock them out, easy. And I've got an editor who works with me, and so it's like, once you've got your team and you've got the system, then there's no blocks. So I think that does make a huge, 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 huge difference. Once you've got the whole system outlined and you know how it works and you've done it a few times, then it sort of becomes super, super easy. Yeah, because otherwise it would be annoying. If I'd written all these books and I'm like, I don't know what to do with them now, no one can read them, it would weigh on me after a while, for sure.
Yeah, totally. There's something, totally freeing about that experience of just being able to finish the book, get it published, do some marketing, and then just move on to the next project. And you know, I feel like it's almost like cleansing. It's like that creative energy is just like cleansed through your body. And you're like, okay, I'm done with this project. Time for something new. And I think that's just like so exciting to be able to do that, to actually complete something versus just having it sit on a file or on a manuscript in your closet or something.
Yeah, I mean, actually, to be honest, twice I've co-written a book with my girlfriend in one day, from idea to publish. Yeah, and one of them actually just became an audio book today, actually. That same book. So, yeah, I love the idea that you can have an idea in the morning, you can crank it out during the day, and you can publish it in the evening, and the next day someone can buy it. I mean, I think it's just like incredible. You know, that's never been like that before. You know, and I think we're stupid not to use it. You know, we've got these amazing resources. You know, if you've got enough, energy and you've got enough knowledge, you could be writing one book a week. You know, but honestly, I don't think you should just knock out a bunch of crap. I hope I'm not coming across like just knock any old nonsense out. I think the content has to be good. The reason I can write so many books is because I've spent 18 years of my life practicing spirituality, reading loads, teaching people, doing courses, coaching. I have thousands of students through my courses, so I actually know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do this. But the aim is just once you know and once you get inspired, then why not just use the processes and just go for it, you know? Yeah, it's extremely satisfying, you know, and I know you feel that way, Tom, because I just want to everyone listening to this, I just want to give blessings to Tom again, because I think Tom is an absolute legend, and Tom has one thing I like about Tom is that he can crank it out. Tom is actually exceptionally good at getting results and cutting out all the red tape and all the nonsense, right? And that's actually very, very rare. And I mentioned this to you before, Tom, and I just want to just publicly announce this to everyone in case you haven't noticed. That look at what Tom does, because Tom manages to knock it out. There's a lot of people around, talk. Tom's like, whatever, let's just do it, yeah? So I just want to just pay attention to whatever Tom's up to, because this is it's an art, Tom. Most people don't get that, so I just want that to be very clear in people's minds.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I want to take credit for that, but I don't know what to say. It's just like kind of like the way I'm wired. It's like I want to get stuff done. Like I want to get it done and out in the world and share my message with the world. And I spent so many years with like so much self-doubt and so much self-sabotage and all these negative thoughts in my mind. And I mean, I still, we all have negative thoughts in our mind, but it's, for me, I feel like I can't let that stuff hold me back anymore, And I kind of got to this point in my life where I was just like, I was so fed up with not creating, with not writing, with not publishing, with not sharing my message with the world, that I was just like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm either going to do this or I'm going to die trying, you know what I mean? And it was just like, kind of similar to you, there's kind of this epiphany moment in my life where I just realized, like I have to just start doing what I really want to do with my life instead of, holding myself back and worrying about what other people are going to think about me. And, I think that's the biggest problem I've seen so many authors have is they're so concerned about what other people are going to think about them. They're so concerned about bad reviews or not looking professional or not looking good enough or not being a good enough writer. And it's just like for me I'm just like screw that, like whatever, like just I'm gonna do the best job I possibly can. And if that's not good enough for other people, then so what? If it's good enough for me, then I can be happy with it. And I think that was like a total like self-esteem issue. I don't know about you, Mike. I know you've had an awesome journey as well with your own personal development. But for me, it was really just getting enough self-esteem to the point where I could say, okay, I'm happy with what I've done, so I don't care what other people say. Like I'm open to feedback. I want to learn from people who have good feedback and good input for me to improve. But if someone's just a hater and says you're awful, you suck, you're the worst writer ever, it doesn't really faze me anymore. Like instead of spending like a week moping and being depressed because I got a negative email from someone. Now it's like, a minute, 2 minutes, and I'm over it, and I'm on to the next thing. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important to just like kind of that shield of your own personal self-esteem and just confidence to know that, whatever happens out there, it's what you have in your own mind that's going to matter and make the difference in your life.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is probably the biggest issue, actually, what we're talking about here. And yeah, it's what helped me overcome this same kind of self-doubt, not good enough, and all that sort of thing, is that um, people are suffering, and um, this example, I give this to my clients, I give this to myself. It's like imagine you're in a boat in the middle of the ocean somewhere, yeah, and one of your friends can't swim, and they fall in, right, and they're going to drown, right, and you're the only one there. What are you going to do? You're going to like look in the mirror and say, have I got the right thing? Is my hair good? Shall I change my kind of like shorts? Do you know what I mean? Like, let me just check it. I need to practice my dive a few times on the other side. Yeah. Like, will they like it? Will anyone be watching me? Yeah. Are you going to think that way? Yeah. If someone's going, help me, help me, help me. Yeah. You're not going to do that. You're going to jump in there, get your ass in, grab them out, save their ass, pull them into the boat, and like help them stay alive. Yeah. And for me, that just changed everything. I'm like, look, people are seriously in pain right now. If I've got some bad grammar here and there, or there's something that I said that wasn't completely clear, someone's going to get helped anyway, yeah? And that's more important to me than, like, being a perfectionist, or holding back. So, yeah, yeah, I think, and also you just kind of not really care because we're only here to help the people we're here to help. We can't help everyone anyway. Not everyone's going to want to listen to us, and we're not here to help every kind of person in the first place. So my attitude is help the people who you're here to help. Don't worry about everyone else because they don't count. So if I get like a bad review from someone, um, a lot of the times it's like, well, this is not the book for them anyway. Do you know what I mean? They don't. I've noticed some of my books that people either love it and give me 5-star reviews, or they hate it and give me a 1-star review. And I'm just like, there's no like 4 or 3 or 2. It's all like streams. I'm like, this is so ridiculous, So some people like it, some people don't like it, but it's going to cause us a lot of pain if we don't just knock it out anyway. If we don't like produce and share what we need to share, we're going to feel bad about ourselves, and other people are going to be complaining that we could have helped them and we never helped them. So one of the things that helps me is I think when I leave this world, I don't want people complaining to me, saying, why didn't you tell me all these things that you knew because I needed help and you didn't share it with me. That would make feel bad to me, yeah. So I'm like, well, even if it's not perfect, get it out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
also, you don't know what anyone's going to say about anything until you publish it anyway, really. So it's all speculation up until that point.
Yeah, that's so true. Some of the books that I thought were the best book I wrote, and I was so excited about it, like, kind of just flopped when I launched them. And other books that I was like, I don't know how this is going to do, and it just took off and sold really, really well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think even after publishing 20 books, like I still don't, like I have no idea what my next book is going to do. It's going to be amazingly successful or is it going to flop? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like it's very bizarre. It really is. And I've had the same experience. I'm like, this is awesome, and I've spent like extra time on some of these books and really like giving them like sort of like extra polishing and gone through all these active versions, and people are just like whatever. And then there's other books I'm just like, all right, let's just knock that one out, and people are like, oh God, this is such a powerful book. What's going on here? So yeah, you just don't know. So I think that's why I think like thinking about 12 books away, because until you start producing enough, you don't get feedback, and without feedback, you can't tell. And the only feedback that counts is feedback from real serious fans, who appreciate what you're doing. Because feedback from kind of like the stuffed artists, the stagnant artists, the shadow artists, these people who are just haters, like on YouTube and who are just like, everything you do is crap. And, it's like they're just suppressed artists. And when I've looked at people who just have bad reviews, and you say, have they actually produced any videos? Have they produced any books? Have they actually produced anything? And you look at them, they've never produced anything because, well, I don't know why they haven't, but there's an expression like, don't listen to anyone unless they're in the arena. Yeah. If you come into the arena and you're actually an author and you're actually doing it and you're hardcore, then I'll listen to your feedback. But otherwise, I'm not interested because you don't know what it's like. Yeah. So it's like if Tom gives me some feedback, I'll take it seriously because he's like a peer. But if someone who's never done anything and just hates everything gives me feedback, it doesn't really count. So I think that's important to bear in mind as an author. Most people's feedback isn't really useful, but your fans' feedback is useful, and other authors' feedback can be useful. And other than that, just ignore all of it.
Yeah, that's such a great point. It's like it's amazing how much of like the success in life is not just it's not due to like how much you say yes to, but how much you say no to. And it's kind of like you're saying no, you're just like ignoring anyone who's not in your arena, like you said. If they're not a fan of your work, and not like a fan in the sense that they love you, but like in the fan of your field. So if like someone's not into spirituality and they read one of your books on spirituality and they hate it, it's like, okay, well, who cares? You know what I mean? It's because they don't read your work. They're not into what you're into. It's like if you write a science fiction novel and someone only reads romance and they read your science fiction novel and say, this is the worst novel I've ever read. Well, who cares? I mean, they don't read science fiction novels. So like, why would you care about their opinion? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because their opinion is so like biased that they're not going to be able to actually help you improve what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, exactly. And but on the other side, I do take feedback seriously. Like if I get some comments that are negative, and I know it could be better, they'll change something. I'm actually quite happy to change things if there's genuine need for it. Absolutely, I'll spend the extra time. In fact, I'm literally just before this interview, I was going through one of my books because I got some feedback about something not being quite right, and I felt it's worth me upgrading this something here because this was a genuine person, yeah. And I don't mind doing that. I'm very happy to do it, because I think we also need to be humble and willing to change. So, like when there is positive, critical feedback, what's the word? Constructive criticism, so to speak. Then I think it's good to take it very seriously, actually. But to be able to discern the difference between constructive criticism and just suppressed negative people who've got nothing better to do and are bored, Sometimes you get these like what are they called? Like serial haters, and they just go around like giving everyone bad reviews, and they have this like long list of one-star reviews, and that's just what they do. They've got nothing to do. Wake up on a Sunday morning and right, let's see if I can get another 600 one-star reviews and just cuss everyone. I don't know. Bless their hearts. It's the same with people creating like malware and hacking websites. Like I don't know why they do it, but that's what they do. So we can't take it too seriously.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point. Don't take it too seriously. Yeah, and I love what you just said about upgrading. I love that word and the way you've applied it to upgrading your book. If you do there's a typo, you just upgrade it. If there's a mistake, you upgrade it. If you need to do a rewrite, you just upgrade it. And I love that idea because to me it sounds easier to upgrade something than to like rewrite something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like you can. I think the main thing is not to say, oh, there was a problem here, so I'm just going to scratch the whole thing. And sometimes, as artists, we can become very emotional about things. And I mean, I've had moments like this in my time creating stuff where I might get some bad feedback from somebody, and some part of me, the kind of wounded part of me, goes, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this at all. This is just I should just blow the whole thing out, and just like toss it all." I've had moments like that where where I can get a little bit constract, just like but really most of the time that's completely ridiculous thinking like that. And if something needs to be changed, then we just go in there and we change it. Or we just leave it alone and say, you know what, that's the way it is, and we're done. Move on to the next thing. But the crucial thing to pay attention to is we're here to help the right people, and that's all our focus should be, is on helping the people who we're here to help. And as long as we're helping them, I don't mind spending extra time, energy, talking to people personally or whatever it needs to be done to help the right people. But everything else, we've got to say no to. So there's like this very defined focus of who am I here to serve, how can I serve them, and everything else is like unimportant. Because if I worry about all those other things, I won't have any energy left for what I'm actually here to do.
Absolutely. And that's like what I was just talking about before, like saying no to everything that's not right for you, because there's so many opportunities, especially as you start publishing books, you're going to get emails from all kinds of people with business opportunities and they want to translate your book in other languages and all kinds of things that happen. And, if you just say yes to every email you get, you're going to spend all your time just chasing different opportunities instead of actually doing what's on purpose for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my policy is basically saying no to a lot of things, because there's so much distraction, like you say, and so many things that could be done, but most of them are not important. Every yes is a no. Every time I say yes, I'm saying no to something else. And every time I say no, I'm saying yes to something else. So I'm very, very conscious of where is my energy going, where is my time going, what am I saying yes to, what am I saying no to. And I think having a very select group of people who you spend time with is important as well. Because the people you spend your energy with, that's having a very powerful effect on you. So if someone wants to be an author, or you are an author, and you're hanging around with people who kind of don't like the idea of you being successful, or think what you're doing stupid, or you feel bad that you're successful and they're not, that's going to be a problem. So I recommend people spend as much time as they can with other successful authors and writers and creators who get it, because that's the best company. Yeah,
Absolutely. And like you said before, with like, know who you're getting feedback from. Those are also the kind of people who can give you the kind of feedback that can take you from a little bit of success to a lot of success really, really quickly.
yeah, yeah,
Because they've already gone there. They already know. They've already been through what you've been through.
yeah, yeah. Because everyone else, it's funny how many people who have no idea what they're talking about are very happy to give advice. Someone who's like never written a book, never published a book, never done anything, and they'll be saying, no, you should be doing it like this. I often get people saying stuff like that. I'm like, well, how come you're giving me this advice? You don't really know anything. But so yeah, spend time with people who. My motto is spend time with people who have what you want. Only take advice from people who actually have got what you want. Otherwise, just ignore them. Because if they don't have what you want, then how can they advise you on how to get what you want? Because they haven't got it. It sounds really simple, but I think we can take advice from too many places, and that's not going to help.
hmm Absolutely. Awesome. Awesome. Well, Michael, you shared a wealth of wisdom with us today. Before you go, I want to share like one concrete, awesome, amazing tip, either on writing or publishing or marketing, that people listening right now, can take away and implement immediately to get them much better results as an author. So, what would that kind of one tip you'd like to share be?
Um, I would say spend time in silence in the morning, by yourself. Yeah, when you're feeling awake, and just sit there and start a meditation practice, because that's going to help you clear your mind. It's going to help you fill yourself with like good energy, and then you're going to get all these ideas coming through and all this power, which will allow you to do all these other things. So if you can just do that one thing, have a morning meditation practice, morning spiritual practice of some kind, it will massively improve your writing and quality of your life. So, and your creativity will go off the charts, off the charts. So that would be my main tip for you.
Awesome. That's good advice. I'm gonna have to take it.
Yeah, yeah. And I have like loads of meditations, free meditations on my websites people can just download. So feel free to download them. And but yeah, just get a meditation practice, because it really just shifts everything. Because if you can feel good about yourself and you can have a clear mind and you can concentrate, then your entire life's going to radically improve. So there you go.
Awesome. Great. Well, we'll link to the meditation free downloads for everybody at the bottom of this interview. And Michael, thanks so much again. Before you go, tell us where people can find out more about you and the work that you're doing.
Yeah, so you can go to Awakened, AWAKENED, academy.com, awakenedacademy.com, or superherotraining.com, and we have loads of free videos and audios and things you can get there. And yeah, so much good stuff for people who are wanting to be creative and have a much more enjoyable, beautiful life. So have fun, and thank you, Tom, for bringing this on and doing all the great work that you do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michael. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.